Welcome to the Injured Workers Outreach Services. In Windsor, Ontario, our office is called the Injured Workers Action Committee. We can be found at 965 Tecumseh Road West. We have many years of experience assisting injured workers in all issues related to their workers' compensation claims. We can offer you advice with your objections and appeals regarding claims for repetitive strain injuries, mental stress, occupational disease, hearing loss, and entitlement to loss of earnings benefits, return to work and accommodation, academic retraining, NEL awards, survivor benefits, medications, physiotherapy, and chiropractic treatments, as well as any other issues you might have. We are funded by the WSIB. There is no cost to you for the services we provide. We offer advice and assistance in claims with the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board. We do not provide legal advice or representation in claims with the WSIB. The information offered in this video is meant to assist and advise you in how to file a claim and how to object to a claim within the WSIB. We welcome and encourage you to contact our offices at any time so we can assist you with any questions you might have about the information provided. Generally speaking, a claim file contains documents detailing how the accident, injury, illness, or disease occurred, if it was caused or aggravated by workplace duties or exposures, and the likelihood of the medical condition or injury being medically compatible with the diagnosis and opinions of the treating health professionals and/or the WSIB's external medical consultant. Once the WSIB has accepted that there has been an accident, a physical or psychological injury, and a medical diagnosis, they will determine if the accident has resulted in lost time from work. The WSIB determines if the worker was totally or partially impaired, if they were unable to work, and if the employer offered modified or suitable work within the worker's medical restrictions. They then determine if entitlement to loss of earnings benefits should be allowed. Section 22, subsection 1 of the Workplace Safety and Insurance Act states, "A worker shall file a claim as soon as possible after the accident that gives rise to the claim, but in no case shall he or she file a claim more than 6 months after the accident or, in the case of an occupational disease, after the worker learns that he or she suffers from the disease." There are a number of forms that must be filled out in order to establish a claim and to determine the abilities and restrictions involved in a return to safe and suitable work. The starting point of filing a claim with the WSIB is to complete a Form 6. This is the worker's report of injury and disease. If you don't have access to a computer, our office can download this form and assist you in completing it. When filling out a Form 6, it's important that the information you provide is accurate and correct. It's also important that you correctly check off the area of injury that applies to you. On the second page of the Form 6, you'll be asked for a description of the type of accident and injury you suffered, whether it was sudden or a gradual onset. The space provided for your answer may not be sufficient. Feel free to take your time and write or type a detailed explanation of the accident and injury on a separate piece of paper, which you can then attach to the Form 6. The Form 6 also asks if you received first aid or medical attention at work, or if you went to a hospital or clinic or saw a doctor. If you didn't receive any medical attention or treatment, it's important that you provide an explanation. The Form 7 is the employer's report of injury and disease. The employer is required to provide similar information to what's on the Form 6. This includes the date and hour of your accident or the onset of your illness, the type of accident or illness, and the area of injury. The employer is required by law to provide you with a copy of the Form 7. You should compare the information on your Form 6 to the information on the Form 7 to make sure it's consistent. If the information on both forms isn't the same, it's important that you ask your employer to make changes to their Form 7 to reflect the information you've provided on the Form 6. The WSIB Health Professionals Report is called a Form 8. The injured worker completes the top portion of the form, Section A. Section B is completed by the health professional. They provide information about how the injury or illness occurred at work and the date of its occurrence or onset. The health professional notes the area of injury, a description of the injury, a rating of the pain experienced, any pre-existing conditions along with their diagnosis, a treatment plan, and any medications prescribed. They will list your functional abilities, if you're able to bend, twist, climb, stand, and perform other physical activities. They will also determine if you can return to your regular job duties, if you can return to modified duties, or if you are unable to return to any kind of work. After these 3 forms have been submitted to the WSIB, it's very important that you call the WSIB to confirm with them that all of these forms have been received. A telephone call to a customer service representative at 1-800-387-0750 will allow you to find out if all the necessary information was received. You'll also be able to learn the name of the adjudicator or case manager who has been assigned to your claim. The Workers' Exposure Accident Form is a WSIB form that is completed when there has been an exposure to an infectious substance or chemical or other workplace substances. If you suffered from an illness in a situation such as this, a Form 6 must also be completed. The Functional Abilities Form, commonly referred to as an FAF, is completed by the treating health professional. This can be a chiropractor, a physiotherapist, or a physician. This form contains information and discussion with the worker regarding their abilities and restrictions, the duration of those restrictions, and recommendations for work hours and a start date for a return to work, whether it's at full-time hours, modified hours, or graduated hours. Copies of the FAF are given to the worker and to the employer. After this form has been completed, the worker is required to contact the employer immediately to review the information and to begin planning an early and safe return to work. The WSIB is required to provide a written decision regarding the allowance or denial of a claim. This is stated in Section 131, subsection 4 of the Workplace Safety and Insurance Act, which notes that the board shall promptly notify parties of its decision. This decision must explain in detail the reasons the claim was allowed or denied. It must also include references to the relevant WSIB policies, and it must explain the timeline to object to the decision in writing. In the course of its decision-making, the WSIB will refer to specific relevant written policies outlined in their Operational Procedures Manual. These policies can be found online at the WSIB website, wsib.ca. There are legislated time limits for submitting an objection, as noted in Section 120 of the Workplace Safety and Insurance Act. There's a 30-day time limit for objecting to decisions related to return to work or labor market reentry, now called work reintegration, and a time limit of 6 months for all other WSIB decisions. In order for these time limits to be met, the WSIB must receive your intent to object form or letter of objection by the date of the time limit given in the decision letter. In your letter of objection, you should request a copy of your claim file. This can either be sent to you electronically or as a paper file in the mail. You can also choose to complete the WSIB worker request for copy of claim file. The WSIB intent to object form requires information regarding the date of the decision that you're objecting to and the relevant issues, along with any new information that might lead to the decision being reconsidered. You need to specify if you're representing yourself, or if you've retained a representative, you need to provide their name. When you've completed and signed the intent to object form, send it to the WSIB by fax at 416-344-4684 or 1-888-313-7373, or mail it to the following address. After the intent to object form has been received, along with any new information or evidence, the original decision is reconsidered. If it's denied, you should object to the reconsideration decision and request a copy of your claim file and an appeal readiness form. The appeal readiness form is the next step in the objection process. This will allow you to move forward to the Appeal Services Division, where your objection will be reviewed and decided by an appeals resolution officer. Given the complexity of this form, it's suggested that you contact our office for assistance with completing it. Feel free to call us for assistance with anything related to your claim at 519-252-7507. You can also email us at iwacworkers@gmail.com.